Hey you, welcome back to the channel. And guys, today we want to talk about some very shocking and interesting news we got from the man himself, George R.R. Martin. And basically the entire gist of the story is we discovered that basically Jon Snow may be a white, but animated back to life by the Red God. Or R'hllor. So why this is so shocking and interesting is that, and why it kind of makes a lot of sense is if we think about the whites, in relation to the White Walkers, which are dead people that have been reanimated to serve the others, um, they are basically like drones, right? They're basically controlled pretty much by the others, and they don't seem to have a function or mind of their own. They just move in this colony type thing, almost like ants would do, and various things like that. And when we contrast that to getting this news about Jon Snow could be that very exact thing for the Red God R'hllor, it's very shocking, because it would seem that Jon Snow and many of the other people who've been brought by the Red God that we're aware of, such as Beric Dondarrion, that they seem to function on their own, with the exception, though, that the more they come back, the less of themselves they become. They become erratic, they can become angry, various things like that, and they can also start to forget, who they were and people around them. And one thing that I kind of would have liked to have seen more of, specifically in the TV show, in relation to that, and bringing back people from the dead. Whether specifically if it was from the Red God, like George R.R. Martin is now, basically comparing the character of these people like Jon Snow and Beric Dondarrion to what we would get with the whites and the others, or the White Wars, is that when they came back, that element was there, but they didn't really play it up that much, especially with Jon Snow. And I'm under the assumption that the reason they didn't play it up much with Jon Snow was that he had only come back once, whereas with Beric Dondarrion, it was a little bit more. We could see those elements a bit more. He had come back like 7 times. We see all the scars. He's almost starting to resemble a corpse, right? Because he's been killed so many times. His mission, his focus is very one-dimensional. He's not really interested in anything other than just serving the Red God in this impending war, against the White Walkers. So I would have liked to see Jon Snow carry more of those, that behavior of a person who's come back from the dead. I would have liked to see him just at certain times just flip out and be angry and have bouts with this. I think it would have just made it so much more interesting. And I actually thought we were going to get that in the TV show, because they talked about it so much that when they come back, they're not themselves, that they keep coming back. I want to see more elements of it. And in the beginning, how Jon Snow was kind of moving around, like I would expect probably a person coming from the dead would react and move around. I was hoping that we would have got to see elements of that, slip in and be an issue for Jon. I would have liked to have seen quite a little bit more severe effects with him coming back from the dead, which I thought I was going to get. Didn't get it, but again, the understanding of it is he hasn't come back enough times. The more he comes back, it'll be a situation like that. You also have to keep in mind, guys, that the books, A Song of Ice and Fire, and the TV show Game of Thrones, whereas they're similar, they are, at the end of the day, different stories, right? They're kind of based on each other, but they do they do different things. They have different characters. Different people die that die in the TV show that don't die in the books. And whereas I think many believe that the ending of the show is going in the same direction, that the road there will be taking different side paths and back alleys to get there. Different paths to pretty much tell the same story. And I like that. I think that's awesome, because where that's going to be great, guys, is when the show ends. If George R.R. Martin's still writing, which the way things are going, he probably still will be. Who knows with George R.R. Martin. But if he's still writing, it'll be kind of interesting to just get to see him finish the story, which is going to be a great deal different from the TV show, and kind of get to see what in my mind is going to now play out like an alternate ending to the story, because now Game of Thrones is moving so far along ahead of George R.R. Martin. We're kind of forced to get on the side of the TV show, go along with it, and then that's going to impart in us what the story is or how the story ends. And then George R.R. Martin seems to gonna come with the I'm gonna kind of now look at his ending is more like the second, an alternate ending. Depends on how this finishes out, because my brain is gonna take in what comes to it first, right? So anyway, going back to just kind of thinking of Jon Snow as a white, that's kind of weird, because again, is he just a vessel then controlled by the Red God? Because as we understand them, these aren't really living beings anymore. They're reanimated to serve a purpose. So is it just the verbiage, is just the language, or is it something more to him specifically referring to people arisen by the Red God? It's whites. That'd be interesting to see how that unfolds. What I can say is one thing we do get clear from people being arisen from the Red God, or the God of Fire, or being reanimated by fire in the Fire and Ice saga, where they're going to have this impending war, and they're going to have to meet up. In that situation, is then Jon Snow becoming more of just this vehicle for the Red God, as he has been reanimated by the Red God? And the Red God probably, or Lord, the Fire God, everybody he seems to reanimate simply pretty much serves his purpose. And if we look at Jon Snow focus isn't on anything other than what the Red God's focus is, and that's fighting off the others, the gods of the other. And so that's, if you really look at how Jon Snow, or his story goes, it's always, and understandably so, he's dealing with the most severe threat, right? But at the same time, it makes sense that the Red God would bring him back to be his champion, to fight off the others, and he's really only serving that purpose. So in that perception, in that way, Jon Snow is only living really to fight, for this purpose. He doesn't really have any direction of his own, even though he's king of the North. And the North, to me, seems just like a means to an end for Jon Snow. Jon Snow's not really, I don't think, really his overall mission's not so much to restore the Stark family. It was never to be king of the North. Of course, he cares about his family still, but those aren't his driving forces at this point. His driving force is to defeat the White Walkers, which is the same goal as the Red God. So very, very interesting information. We'll be very interested to see how the book deals with the issue. Looks like George R.R. Martin's going to probably end up making Jon Snow more like I thought we would have gotten a TV show, where he's more or less himself, less of himself, and more of this, of this vehicle to be used by the God Lord, the God of Fire, the Red God. So anyway, guys, tell me what you guys think about this new development, how George R.R. Martin's wording this in the books. Not sure what that'll mean for the TV show. I'm sure the TV show script is probably already finished, so they're probably just going to continue on and end it that way, and it may have nothing, relative to this, or we don't know. Maybe Dan and Dave met with George, and they pretty much already knew this stuff, and probably's already kind of put it in the next 2 seasons. We'll have to find out. But anyway, guys, hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, guys, take care.